The citation was taped to my front door at 6:14 a.m., still damp from the morning dew. Big red letters, violation notice, unauthorized animal. Under it, a fine for $250 and a note scrawled in pen, dangerous breed, must remove within 7 days. I remember standing there in my robe, coffee steaming in one hand, reading it twice. Then I looked down at Max, lying obediently by my boot, head tilted like he knew this was about him. His vest still bore the faded patch. K9, retired service animal. Max wasn't just a dog. He'd served 7 years with the county's narcotics unit. He'd done more for public safety than any of the HOA board members combined. The HOA president, Carol, lived 2 doors down. Her porch was always immaculate, her smile always tight. She loved citing bylaws like scripture. I'd seen her measuring my neighbor's mailbox with a ruler once, so I wasn't surprised when she walked over that evening, clipboard in hand, perfume sharp enough to cut through the humidity. "We've had complaints," she said, looking past me at Max. "About what?" I asked. "Aggressive behavior, barking, and that vest. It's intimidating." I almost laughed. "That vest is a uniform. He's a retired police K9, not a lawn ornament." She tightened her lips. "The HOA doesn't recognize police status for animals in the community. We operate by our own regulations." That's when I knew this wasn't about noise or safety. It was about control. That night, I reviewed the HOA handbook. Section 8.2b. Service animals are exempt from breed or uniform restrictions per state and federal law. I highlighted it, printed 2 copies and sent one to the board's official email with a time-stamped note, "For your records." The next morning, another notice appeared, this time citing me for failure to comply. $500 fine. Carol was escalating fast. I installed my doorbell cam that afternoon, then a second one on the fence facing the cul-de-sac. Max watched me the whole time, head cocked, tail still. He didn't know it, but this was about to turn into a case. By day 3, the HOA started sending emails implying Max had bitten a child. I checked the timestamp on their claim, 3:22 p.m. Max and I were at the vet at that exact time, confirmed on the receipt, camera footage, and GPS logs from my truck. Fabrication, plain and simple. When I presented the evidence in an email, Carol responded, "Our witnesses are trustworthy residents. Your dog is a liability." Trustworthy, sure, except one of her so-called witnesses was her husband, and the other was the treasurer who owed the HOA nearly 6 months of unpaid dues. That Friday, I came home to find an HOA security officer, retired mall cop they'd hired for $15 an hour, standing by my gate snapping photos of Max through the fence. "You got authorization for that?" I asked, holding up my phone. "HOA business," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Cool," I said. "Then you won't mind if I record this too, for my records." He backed off. Max didn't bark once. That night I called an old friend, Deputy Reyes. We'd served together during a community outreach program years back. I told him what was going on. He chuckled once, then said, "They picked the wrong dog and the wrong owner. Keep your records tight. We'll play this by the book." Over the weekend, I started a full evidence log. Photos, email threads, copies of every notice, each one time-stamped, labeled, stored in a binder. Max's certifications, retirement paperwork, and handler ID, everything organized like a case file. Then came the kicker. Monday morning, I received a notice of legal action from the HOA attorney, an attempt to force removal of a dangerous animal. Attached was a doctored photo of Max with bared teeth, clearly taken mid-yawn. That's when I knew this wasn't just HOA harassment. It was defamation. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't post online. I just opened a new folder on my computer, labeled it Operation Leashback, and started preparing for what came next, because if they wanted a fight, they were about to get one. On record, on video, and in court. By Tuesday morning, I was operating like an investigator, not a homeowner. Every camera angle, every timestamp mattered. I ran my own little command center from the kitchen table, binder open, coffee steady, Max asleep at my feet like a silent partner. The HOA wanted to play legal hardball. Fine, I'd play by the book, just a thicker one. First, I mapped the timeline, every complaint they'd filed, every incident they claimed, plotted against the proof I had, vet visits, dash cam footage, and GPS logs. The patterns didn't just clash, they imploded. They were fabricating events that physically couldn't have happened. Still, I needed to be airtight. So I called in an expert, Officer Daniels, Max's former K9 unit supervisor. Daniels remembered Max immediately. "They're calling him dangerous," he said. "That dog's record is cleaner than half the officers on payroll." He offered to send a certified statement verifying Max's service and retirement status under State Code 210.4, which guaranteed housing protection for retired K9s. That was my first bulletproof exhibit. Next, I dug into the HOA's own bylaws. Section 3.1. All regulations must align with state and federal animal protection statutes. Section 8.2b. Service and retired service animals are exempt from community restrictions. They'd broken their own rules twice. I printed it all, highlighted, annotated, bound like a legal brief, and emailed a scanned copy to the board with a note. "Please review your own charter before issuing further fines." Per compliance standards, this message is time-stamped 8:47 p. Logged and witnessed. No response. Instead, the next morning, Carol parked her SUV directly in front of my driveway. The kind of petty move people make when they think power equals presence. I filmed the whole thing from my porch cam. The footage captured her muttering into her phone, something about getting that dog out by Friday. 2 hours later, an anonymous letter appeared in my mailbox, typed in all caps, "Remove the dog or we will call animal control." That was the move I'd been waiting for. Animal control officers are required by law to log every complaint. I filed a records request that same afternoon under the Public Access to Information Act. 48 hours later, I had the logs. 3 complaints filed against me, all under the same caller ID, Carol's home number. So I had motive, false reports and harassment. Documented Reyes, the deputy, came by to review the file. We sat on the porch as the sun dropped behind the cul-de-sac, turning everything gold and quiet. "This is solid," he said. "Chain of evidence, timestamps, federal exemptions, she's cooked." He paused, looking at Max. "You want this handled quiet, or do you want to make an example?" I smiled. "Let's make it educational." That weekend, we set the stage. I positioned my dashcam to face the street, left my porch lights bright enough for clean footage, and told Reyes I'd tip him off the moment they crossed the line. It didn't take long. Sunday morning, Carol and 2 HOA board members marched up to my yard with a clipboard and a notice of impound authorization, completely fake, stamped with a blurry HOA logo. Carol tried to wave it like a warrant. "We're here to remove the animal for community safety," she announced. "You mean the federally protected K9?" I asked. "It's not federal once it's in my neighborhood." Reyes' cruiser turned the corner just as she said it. His dash lights lit up the street. He stepped out calm, hat low. "Ma'am, you're impersonating a public officer and attempting to execute an invalid order. You might want to put that clipboard down." The look on her face, caught between shock and pride, was priceless. He took statements, verified my documents, and filed an incident report. Every second went on body cam. Carol and her team had no idea that same footage would soon make it to the HOA hearing, and later the county clerk's office. That night, I uploaded all video files, synced them to cloud backup, and sent a courtesy email to the HOA's legal counsel with a single line: "All evidence secured. Pending review by local law enforcement. Recommend immediate cease and desist." I didn't hear back for 2 days. Then came the HOA's emergency meeting notice. Subject line: "Mandatory hearing, member violation review. Date: Friday. 6 p.m. Location: Community Hall." They wanted a fight in public. Perfect, because what they didn't know was that Daniels, Reyes, and a representative from the state K9 division would all be there too. The board had built their own stage. I was just going to turn the lights on. The community hall smelled like lemon cleaner and fresh coffee. HOA battlefields always do. Folding chairs lined up in stiff rows, a projector humming in the back, and a row of plastic nameplates on the front table, like it was a courtroom. Carol sat in the middle, pearls tight around her neck, a thick binder in front of her. She was confident again. Her husband whispered something to her, probably a pep talk. I walked in carrying my own binder, heavier and cleaner. Max stayed home, too dignified for the circus that was about to unfold. But his vest, polished and folded, sat at the top of my file. I could feel eyes tracking me as I took a seat. Neighbors who'd once smiled politely now whispered in corners. HOA gossip spreads faster than wildfire, especially when someone stands up to the board. Carol started the meeting with her trademark grin. We're here tonight to address the violation at 412 Crescent Lane, she said. This homeowner has failed to remove an unapproved animal, despite multiple warnings and citations. She looked right at me when she said it. I just nodded. Then she clicked her remote, and the projector lit up. A grainy photo of Max mid-yawn, teeth bared. As you can see, she continued, this dog is aggressive and unfit for a residential community. That's when I stood. Madam President, I said evenly, before we go further, I'd like to submit evidence into record. The lawyer she'd hired, a young guy sweating under his blazer, looked nervous. We'll allow it, he said, trying to sound official. I plugged in my USB and brought up a slideshow. Slide 1, the HOA's own bylaws, section 8.2b, highlighted in yellow. Slide 2, Max's official K9 retirement certification with Daniel's signature and county seal. Slide 3, a letter from the State K9 Division confirming legal protections for retired service animals. The room went dead quiet. Then slide 4, video playback. Doorbell cam footage of Carol taping that first violation notice to my door. Timestamped 6:14 a.m. as before. HOA business hours, slide 5, the biting. Incident. A split screen of the HOA's claimed time and my vet visit receipt with GPS data showing Max across town. Slide 6, the C. Body cam footage from Deputy Reyes's cruiser, the moment he arrived during their impound attempt. Carol's voice on tape, saying, it's not federal once it's in my neighborhood. I didn't say a word during the playback. The silence did the work. When it ended, Daniels, who'd been standing in the back, stepped forward in uniform. He spoke calmly like he'd done this before. This animal served the county for 7 years, he said. The HOA's actions not only violate State Statute 210.4, but also constitute harassment of a law enforcement asset. Reyes added, we're filing a supplemental report with the county attorney's office. Any further action against this homeowner could be considered retaliation under civil code. You could feel the shift in the room. A few neighbors clapped softly before the board could gavel them down. Carol's lawyer leaned in, whispering rapidly. She straightened up and tried to salvage control. This isn't necessary. Perhaps there's been some misunderstanding. I closed my binder. No misunderstanding. But there will be accountability. I handed her a cease and desist letter, notarized and time-stamped, addressed to the HOA and her personally. The final page included a demand for reimbursement of all illegal fines, plus damages for defamation. When I turned to leave, someone in the back muttered, good for him. Then another voice. About time. 2 weeks later, the county ruled in my favor. The HOA's fines were voided, and Carol was ordered to issue a written apology and attend a compliance seminar. Word spread fast, especially after Reyes's body cam footage was released under public record. That's how the hearing went viral. Headlines called it the K9 case that bit back. Within a month, 2 board members resigned. The HOA quietly revised its bylaws to include a full section on protected service animals. Section 9.0, named Max's Clause. These days, Max still naps by the porch, occasionally lifting his head when someone passes by. The same people who once filed complaints now wave and smile. Justice doesn't always bark. Sometimes it just documents everything and waits. Lesson? Don't weaponize bureaucracy. You never know when the paper trail leads straight back to you. If you've had a run-in with an overreaching HOA, drop your story in the comments. And remember, evidence wins every time.